the field in Castro's hands, and he's going immediately. Gets a good jump there over green, and he's pulling away. He is gapping early, even moving over to try to break up any sort of slipstream or help that inside line, making sure green has his hands full coming into T1.
Be York's chance. Did Jason give Antonio just a little bit of a slow up? It doesn't look like it. Antonio down to the inside. Hopefully going to be able to make this move. Oh, that was close.
Soto both coming very hot with a head of steam. Plava going up to try to move out of the way and give up the slipstream.
Here comes Gilliland.
Slow down. Gilliland coming in, going to try to challenge for this podium. They're going to go too wide.
Oh, no!
Oh, no! Gilliland and Plava come together. Gilliland's going to come back across the line in 4th place.
Quite going to get there. There's a little bit of a lock up there from the 46
goodness.
car. He's gone deep.
Whoa. I don't know how everybody was able to get through that. That could have been absolute tears for that front runner.
I see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes.
That was the biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. You know, like, hey, you know, life sucks sometimes, and you need the boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff
Yes.
the new cars just a little bit. I'm not going to go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new content.
Confirmed.
But
Yes.
but
2024 Season 4, Round 2 of the Weekend Warriors, live here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. My name is Randall McGrew, and I'm joined in the commentary booth and on the production controls by Daniel Zippy Salmon. We are here at one of the newest tracks on the service, Cadwell Park, in the Spec Racer Fords. And let me tell you, it's like somebody went golfing and looked at the golf cart track and said, you know what? I have an idea. Zippy, what do you think it's going to be like today?
Oh, I think it's going to be a absolute belter. And don't get me wrong, Randall, I am very much of a biased opinion. This is literally my home track. I'm from Lincolnshire, UK, and this track it's about an hour from where I grew up. It's about 15 minutes from where my grandfather was. And even though he was in his 80s, he had a Volvo S70 with every bolt-on he could get, every dress-up piece he could get, rocking about 315 horsepower. And despite being in his 80s, he absolutely drove the wheels off that car. So it's fair to say it's in the family blood, is Cadwell Park. But I'm going to try and find you somebody there, Randall, so we can get an onboard lap. Just bear with me there. And give me your thoughts exactly as well on how you think it's going to be for the debut race here at Cadwell Park. So it looks like Jason Green is just going over the line there.
We're going to jump on with great Jason Green. He's going to come through turn 1. It's pretty much flat out. You might see a few drivers lift, and then they're going to brake just a little bit. A lot of trail braking on this track, and then another trail brake going in to turn 3, a tight right-hander. Then a long run up a hill on a not quite straightaway towards turn 4. As you approach the top of this hill, you're going to see the 3-board peak over the crest. Then you'll see the 2-board, and you're going to brake somewhere between the 1-board and the scene of the accident to get through this tight right-hander at turn 4. Then you're going to have another somewhat tight turn 5. You're just going to lift a little bit through it and then brake very gently here for the right-left combination of 6 and 7. One downshift, then get it going down the hill. One of the best opportunities for passing is going to be here, the heavy braking zone for turn 8. Then a quick little right, then left kink is going to be 9 and 10, going to bring you up to the very slow chicane of 11 and 12, it's uphill, so you got changing geography as you're navigating these corners, kind of almost like a Road Atlanta. Then a bit of a rhythm section, right, then left, right again, and then left one more time, and then you're going to try to break in a straight line as possible to get this very tight right-hander for the penultimate corner, and come through one more right-hander, get a good early back to the throttle, and launch down the hill to complete your lap. And this is going to be a wild one. We have 32 cars out here on a track this tight, this qualifying session. Super important.
Well, it's definitely going to be a huge part of it, and certainly I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to go. Obviously, Cadwell Park only just joining the iRacing service this season, and I will admit, when I first found it was coming to the sim, I don't know why I felt a little bit emotional about that. I mean, there's not really much love lost between me and the homeland, and you know, it's just kind of beautiful in its own right to see it joining the sim, but you know, certainly mixed feelings here. You know, I did get to attend an event there in person, in real life, and I gotta say, we've seen some impressive drivers, you know, certainly not just in the sim, but in real life, but I saw guys tandem drifting through this section that Jason's gonna come up to in a couple of moments there. They were tandem drifting through there. This section, in a couple of corners away. I know which bit I mean. We're just not there yet. Come on, Jason. Put your foot down. These guys were tandem drifting through there, and I've got to say, what an absolute incredible demonstration of skill. I mean, you can already see it is incredibly tight through there. Jason Green getting a little bit of air off of that bump. Can you imagine, Randall, two cars going side by side through here?
I cannot. That's pretty wild. We see Jason Green here. He's currently running fourth as he's going to pull off into the safety pull-off area. Right now, Marco Pinero leading the way with a 130.919, the only person to break the 131 barrier so far. Maurizio Naselli is currently in second, just a couple tenths behind him. Hayden Bramley in third, Jason Green fourth. Bobby West, the sponsor of today's broadcast, Bobby West is currently sitting P5 on the leaderboard for qualifying, so looking to have a good race out of Bobby West. Maybe that'll get him to sponsor some more of these broadcasts.
Well, certainly, I think it's going to be money well spent. And again, thank you very much for sponsoring. That does very much help us keep the show running here at Slow Motion Broadcasting. As you can see there, the price is right there for Hayden Bramley in that Asda car. I gotta say, actually, you wouldn't have got that one reference there. It was a slogan, I think, Asda uses, the price is right or something like that. I can't remember now. By all means, shoot me in the foot for it later, but certainly for Tesco, it was every little helps. And this is just supermarket chains back in the UK. As you see Maurizio in the background there, he looks like he may be on a flyer. Wondering if he's looking to try and improve and take the position over from Marco Pinero.
And really importantly, what you're seeing right now is he's dealing with a lot of traffic. It might help him in the run up to turn 4, but most of this traffic is going to actually slow him down. So one of the biggest challenges in this qualifying session is probably just finding a clean bit of track to run on. Right now, he's got a few tenths ahead of him on track, but that gap could quickly disappear. We saw him overtake Nunez, who's behind him early in the lap. That might have cost him some time. Hopefully, he's able to get another good, clean lap out of this. But they're running out of time if they're going to beat Marco Pinero's time. He was able to get under that 131, so you have to wonder if anybody else can.
Well, I think the draft is going to be a huge part of it, Randall. Certainly, these guys, you know, they need to get that draft, especially the Spec Racer Ford, very much draft dependent. And don't get me wrong, you need to have that clean bit of traffic. But if you have a guy ahead of you who's of similar pace, similar kind of performance, you can use that to your advantage, especially down the straights, and certainly close up that gap. It could be tenths of a second, even into certainly 4 or 5 tenths there, as you see him cutting through them bollards. Now, this particular corner here, that is going to be the one which is going to, no difference just there. The one that will catch most of these guys out. It is a very, very abrupt braking area, very short. Can he improve Maurizio Naselli? He's currently got 130.919. That's his best. I don't think he's been able to improve. Actually, that's Pinero with the 130.919. My apologies.
That's right. We haven't seen him improve since we came on air, and I don't know that they're really going to have much chances to improve. Really, somebody's going to have an absolute bonsai lap time around here, it looks like. Track temperature sitting at a nice, cool 69 degrees Fahrenheit or 21 degrees Celsius. So the tires aren't going to be screaming in agony because of the heat of the track. So they're going to find a lot of grip out there. But this qualifying session might be one of the most important ones of the season, just because it's going to be so difficult to overtake once you get into the field.
Well, I got a feeling these guys are going to certainly make it. So if they can't find a hole, they'll make one, ladies and gentlemen. But I will say as well, there is a couple of newcomers who I've seen here today. Larry Miles is one of them, and the other, if I could just find him a second, is David Tomaski. Not yet seen them out and about on track. I believe they may have put in some time, so we'll see how their race goes. But a good warm welcome here to these guys here at the Weekend Warriors and at Slow Motion Broadcasting.
Right now, your pole positions are Marco Pinero in the overall P1. Antonio Reese of the Masters division is going to be your Masters pole in P8. And then Joshua Wilkie in Spec 2 is currently sitting P11 on the pole for that division as we see him go for a bit of an adventure here.
Well, I got to say, Josh Wilkie did just have great success in the Formula 1600s, was able to take the S2 win, and very much a very valued member of the team here at Slow Motion Broadcasting. Recently started his commentary debut, and I got to say, as a director goes, he is absolutely fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to say, I'm not even going to try and compare my talents to his. He has got me beat, but I will be learning a few tricks of the trade from this gentleman very soon. But certainly, he appears to have me beat in race pace as well. As you see, that is the checkered flag for qualifying. And I got to say, a little bit foggy here today at Cadwell Park.
Fog in England? Tell me more.
Well, it's a bit like being in my head there, Randall. It's certainly, it's a familiar scenario, but I do remember actually years ago. I mean, we get a little bit of fog in England, but I can remember this particular morning of all mornings because I walked down the street, and it was so foggy, and it was kind of freaky. There was a football field, and it had these posts, and there was like a crow sat on 3 of the posts in a row. Absolutely terrifyingly creepy. If you're that way paranoid. But ladies and gentlemen, let's take a quick look at the grid if that information has come in. Bear with me 1 second.
It looks like we're still waiting on the official grid to come in. We still have some cars out there on track setting lap times. So waiting for that to complete and for the session to change over to give us the official results. But tentatively speaking, Marco Pinero is still sitting on pole. Maurizio Naselli was able to improve his lap time, but still not able to break the 131 barrier. So not quite going to be able to take the challenge to him in qualifying. Going to have 40 minutes to get it done in the race. As we see Jason Green trying to set another lap time. Runs a little bit wide there through turn 8 and finds the jump.
I think that might have been...
Decides to abandon it at the last moment in the most spectacular way possible.
I got a feeling that may have been Andrew Love. And yet that, I do believe, is the checkered on qualifying. Let's see if we have the grid come through here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm hitting the button. Magic is happening, and yep, there we go. So we've got Marco Pinero. He's there at the front of the grid, the Italian driver for Alex Kart Raptor Racing Raptor. Maurizio Naselli is alongside him in second. Hayden Brownlee takes third with Jason Green there in fourth. Bobby West, our sponsor for this week. Thank you again very much to Bobby West. He's there in fifth with Daniel Wood alongside him in sixth. Scott Russell takes seventh, and then leading the Masters right now, Antonio Reese, he takes eighth with Joshua Justice in ninth. Larry Miles, newcomer to the Weekend Warriors, he's there in 10th. Josh Wilkie, SMB's finest, ladies and gentlemen, leading the S2s in 11th with Tom Gradwell there in 12th.
13th is going to see Trenton Kramer starting alongside Kurt Nunez in 14th. 15th will be Joseph Tarantino with Paulo Brime starting alongside in 16th. Behind them, Brad Cathcart and Stephen Healy. Starting 19th, the privateer, Philip Berry. And then in 20th, Jim Brewster. 21st, we'll see Andrew Love. And then one of my favorite guys in the field, the number 257 Frito Sport Racing Team entry of Edgar Sancinelli in 22nd. 23rd, we'll see the S1 driver of Jeff Jacobson in the SRT Esports entry. 24th, Mom's Basement Racing's own Russell Telker.
Well, definitely some interesting racing team names here as Andrew Love takes 21st for the United States. My apologies there. Let's try this again. Adam Bradshaw is there taking it for the United Kingdom. He's there in 25th with Jason Grider alongside in 26th. David Tomaski, newcomer here to the Weekend Warriors. He's there in 27th with Michelle Veglini there in 28th. Gary Wowald takes 29th, and then the Swedish driver, Andrea Favini. I'm surprised to see him that far back in the grid. I'm hoping everything's okay for Andrea as he's there in 30th with Aiden Campbell in 31st. What an absolutely stacked grid. And look at the grid itself. Absolutely massive, massive field here today as I'm hitting the wrong buttons for you, ladies and gentlemen. I've done it again. Here we go. Try again. There we go. That's what I was aiming for.
When I first looked at the track map as I was loading into the session, I was like, this place looks a lot like Zandvoort. And then I took a couple onboard laps with Maurizio Naselli, and I realized this is not at all like Zandvoort. So looks can be deceiving. We have a monster grid here, 31 cars on a very, very tight track. This is going to be a real exciting one. There's probably going to be some issues very early on. Survival is going to be the name of the game here. Who can survive that opening scrum as everybody tries to sort out their positions, and then who's got the right amount of aggression to make those moves?
Well, I definitely think it's going to be a case of survival of the fittest certainly starting out, and that fog is very much part of it. As I see, I've managed to find a new button here, ladies and gentlemen. Overcast is the way they're describing it. 100% chance of rain. Am I reading that correctly, Randall? Are we going to see perhaps a little bit of precipitation here in the racetrack that is, I believe, I don't know if they have it flagged as Horncastle or Louth. I believe it's tagged as Louth. Actually, hang on a second. Does it say that in the race info?
This looks like 100% humidity. I don't think that that's necessarily the rain chance. Looking at the radar, all we see is clouds, not seeing any precipitation. So looks like they'll get through with just, I'm going to call it cast, not overcast, because it's not over. It's on the ground. It's fog. It's casty today.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's a little
soupy,
foggy.
even.
It's definitely a little foggy. As I've just checked the race info, and apparently Lincolnshire is a city, so I'm going to flag that. Lincolnshire is a county, province, state, something along those lines. So I'm going to claim Cadwell Park is part of Louth, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very, very small town, village. There isn't really too much there, but I do believe there's a Volvo dealer. Not that I'm biased, but yeah, definitely not too much happening over there. And some of the best driving roads in the UK, certainly a lot of cambered corners and a lot of blind corners as well. Certainly a good place to have fun, but with caution. Obviously, obey any local traffic laws or just don't get caught doing it, as these guys are going to be getting ready to start this lap very, very shortly.
I have a very interesting prediction to make. I think the deciding factor in the win in this race is going to come down to a blue flag. I think some lap traffic might influence who wins this race, and the key moment might be in who deals with that blue flag the best.
That's definitely an interesting perspective, Randall, and it's got to say, it's one that I've not really thought about too much, but certainly if they were to come across a lapped car in this section of the track here, that could be absolutely catastrophic for certainly trying to keep pace with the person ahead of you. And using lap traffic is actually one of my preferred tactics, certainly when I race. You know, don't get me wrong, I'm not usually somebody who's lapped somebody, but on the odd occasion it does. It's certainly like an endurance race. You can have a lot of fun with it. They are another moving obstacle, and certainly another thing to think about. As I see Christian Kabanga there, typical British weather. Thank you for your support there, Christian.
We're going to see the iRacing safety car dive into the safety of the pit lane. Barney's got the green flag in hand. Green flag is waving. We are underway here at Cadwell Park, and Marco Pinero leading the way, going to get away clean and cover off Maurizio Naselli, and they're bumping fenders already on the approach to turn one.
Oh!
I hear one car, there's a couple cars sliding, a car going off. Looks like Hayden Bramley gets shoved wide there in turn two, and off track, manages to come back onto track. And that's going to promote Jason Green and a few other drivers. So far, the leaders starting to sort themselves out, but back in the pack, I'm not really sure what happened there in turn one. Lots of carnage. Looks like a big gap has formed from the lead group back. So some cars getting taken out and definitely opening up a bit of a gap. But up front, looking good, single file. We see Jason Green now coming through 6 and 7. And jump up to the leader, Marco Pinero, who was able to cover off with a really, really clean, good start. We're going to see a move there. Hayden Bramley making a move on Jason Green coming into turn 8. Not going to be able to get it done. Jason Green retains that third place position, but it's going to let the lead pair break away a little bit. We jump on to this broadcast sponsor, Bobby West, following Hayden Bramley up through the chicane and into the rhythm section for the very first time. Hopefully they have enough heat in the tires by now. This won't be too tricky for them, but this braking section here at the end of the rhythm is going to be very tricky And so far, so good up front.
Well, definitely a very, very colorful race start. I believe it was Joseph Tarantino, one of the masters there, who got caught in that. I'm going to try and get a quick replay. Let's see if we can figure out exactly what happened. So here's the race start. Joseph Tarantino, the 973 car, and it looks like somebody got a little bit of a shunt there. They've gone off wide. That was the 28. And oh my gosh, chaos, panic, disorder, cleanup on aisle 5, 6, and 7. The 933, 902. Oh my word. That has got to be the biggest crash I've seen here at the Weekend Warriors. So that was Joseph Tarantino. He got, Tarantino? Yeah, Tarantino, my apologies. He got involved in that. Jim Brewster, he was part of that as well, I believe. No, there may be another crash after that which involved him heading to the pits. So absolutely huge incident there. Oh my indeed.
And if you heard a bit of a cheer as we see Jim Brewster is having some issues there coming out of turn 7, and he ends up resetting the car to the pit lane. We're gonna go back to live pictures. You heard a little bit of a cheer there at that turn 1 incident. The fabrication shop is going to be raking in the profits this week after all those body parts went flying. So a bit of a perverse incentive there to cheer for some of the fab shop workers, but looks like everybody else was able to make it through turn 1 pretty cleanly. Just that big 4 or 5 drivers there involved in that first corner incident. Now we're looking back from Jason Green towards Hayden Bramley. Hayden was looking pretty punchy going into turn 8 a couple laps ago. Hasn't been able to close that gap back up yet, but I was watching Hayden in practice. He was pretty aggressive. And he's always very, very quick. So he's closing up very, very quickly here. And you're right, that slipstream is playing a huge part in this race.
Well, definitely a huge thing to keep in mind for sure. As I see there's battles happening all over the field. It looks like Brad Cathcart, he's getting in a little bit of a fight right now as well on the back end of Paulo Breme. And it looks like these guys are going hard at it. And I do try not to focus too much on the leaders, ladies and gentlemen, especially in the Weekend Warriors. There's battles happening all over the field. As you see the 905 car of Brad Cathcart, the Australian driver, doing everything he can. He's currently 3rd place in the Masters right now. Well, certainly for this race, and it looks like he's trying to get a little bit of a leapfrog there on Paulo Breme. So in terms of I rating, Cathcart would have the advantage, but certainly that doesn't really count for too much in some of these organized series. And it looks like Paulo Breme is going to be defending quite hard right now. Cathcart not able to make his way up through the field, and a gap appearing ahead of him of about 4 seconds.
Yeah, I think this gap partially may have been born of the turn 1 incident. Maybe just some side-by-side fighting. That's a very interesting point, though. Anytime you start fighting with somebody, you end up losing a lot of time, as we see there. Cathcart able to give a bit of a mind punt to Paulo Breme, just shows the nose and gets him to run a little bit wide, and has a sniff, but not quite enough to get his foot into that door. And as they come through the rhythm section, he's going to have to fall in line and try again another corner.
I thought he was going to go for it then. It would have been suicide in a Spec Racer Ford. Certainly not a move I want to see. But don't get me wrong, I would have applauded it all the way as well as these guys get going for lap 4. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. And it looks like there is another battle happening behind them as well. It looks like Trenton Kramer, I think he got caught up in that incident earlier, and he's currently on the back end of Jeff Jacobson. And Jacobson there with some damage on the right front corner. Is this going to be what Trenton Kramer needs to try and make that move up into 15th place?
He's in a good spot. He's got some slipstream here coming up the run that's to turn 4. It's not quite close enough, though. He looked a little bit closer, so Jacobson getting a better run off the corner, it would seem. So not going to be able to make it happen at this corner. Maybe in turn 8 he can be close enough. We'll see. I would like to note Hayden Bramley has made his way around Jason Green, and that gap up to the lead pair is only 2.1 seconds. So we'll see if Hayden can close that gap here over the coming laps. And it's hard to believe we're only about 6 minutes into this race. I feel like I've aged a year already.
Well, certainly lots of action going on, as it looks like we appear back on Joshua Wilkie as he's something happened to Wilkie. It looks like he went off track, and David Tomaski, I'm seeing a couple of red flags here as well. Larry Miles, Edgar Sancinelli, Gary Wobold, and David Tomaski all having some crash warnings popping up on my screen. But Wilkie, he's currently in the lead for the S2s despite that little off track, and he has a good gap over Philip Berry, who's behind him. But it looks like Tom Gradwell, he's got a whole fleet of cars behind him. Actually, the back of Gradwell's car does appear to be cosmetically challenged, and we're going to get a good view of that from the car of Joshua Justice. He's the one who's trying to make a move right now. It is a S1 versus a Master. Now, the Master, while being a little bit more senior, is certainly not to be shaking a stick at. These guys, they may be old dogs, but they certainly have new tricks.
Tom Gradwell, possibly one of the cars that was shoved off there at the initial lap, on the initial lap incident. See that damage to the rear of the car suggests that maybe he was ran into a little bit. We see Joshua Justice close that gap up in the braking zone just a little bit and start really applying some pressure here. Joshua Justice, that 99 car in the Spec 1, like you said, racing against the Master. They're old, they're not slow. Tom Gradwell showing a lot of pace here.
Well, definitely not to knock the Masters division by any means. I'm sure every single one of them here would absolutely hand it to me on a silver platter. I wouldn't even stand a chance. And don't get me wrong, I love Cadwell Park, but it is a very, very demanding track. As we see here, Daniel Wood is getting in on the action. So Justice not able to apply the pressure at Gradwell right now because he's going to have to defend from the Mexican driver of Daniel Wood as these guys carrying fantastic speed. I thought I saw a puff of smoke there, but everything appears to be going well so far.
Yeah, I've seen a few instances of tire smoke coming through that chicane and into the rhythm section. A little bit, whoa, you get a real close-up view of the damage to the back of Tom Gradwell's car there. And I'm pretty sure Joshua Justice's eyes were big enough that you could see him through the visor as Daniel Wood's going to be dipping into the pit lane, going to be the first one to come in for regular pit service here at the 8-minute mark. So coming in pretty early, pulling the old Antonio Reese strategy.
Yeah, definitely Antonio Reese, he has got that down packed. We're literally just discussing it as well in the F1600s. No idea how he manages it, right? But right now, Gradwell under some serious pressure in the 909 versus 99. It's fair to say these guys are rocking a single digit, and 9 is the popular one, but they're currently, actually, ironically, battling for position 8th and 9th. So definitely all the 9s here at Weekend Warriors.
A quick shout out into the chat. Russell Telker joining us in the chat after having a not so incredible race here, talking about how he had 43 incident points in practice and only 18 laps. And that's pretty impressive, Russell. I got to admit, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Well, I do wonder if our friend Russell Telko perhaps did not realize that incident points are a lot like golf, ladies and gentlemen. You do not want to try and get a high score. Certainly, that's something that I never mastered. As you see there, Gradwell, again, under more pressure from Joshua Justice. Definitely not the place to make passing maneuvers. As I swear, these cars, I think they're getting a little bit of air as they go over that crest.
It definitely seems the suspension is definitely coming unloaded. This pair fighting like this, even though there's no, the little bit of more damage to the rear of Russell Telker's car and a bloody nose for Joshua Justice. I'm not sure who got the braking zone wrong there. We see Josh Wilkie making his way through some lap traffic, and we see some more battered cars here. The 89 of Bobby West. This broadcast sponsor, once again, thank you, Bobby, for sponsoring the broadcast. And Antonio Reese, hot on his tail, looking to make good. He's got a clean car so far. He's managed to keep it out of the dirty stuff. So Antonio in a good spot here to make a challenge for the top 5.
Well, certainly one of the drivers to keep an eye on, and he's currently leading the Masters in this race. Antonio Reese, number 914, and Bobby West, definitely his front end of that car cosmetically challenged on the right front. And at least it's the car that's cosmetically challenged. Myself, I could probably identify that on a bigger scale, but certainly a little bit of battered and bruised are some of the cars in this field. As you see, Antonio Reese starting to apply the pressure, and currently sat about 0.4 of a second behind.
At 0.4, not as big of a gap as it would be in some other cars. 0.4 is right there at putting the pressure on. So if Bobby makes any sort of mistake, Antonio's going to be there to capitalize, and he's far enough away that he doesn't get collected in the same mistake and have to slow down as much. So we just saw it there. It did look like Antonio Reese got a little bit of air coming out of the chicane. So some of these guys running a pretty stiffly sprung car are going to be seeing a lot of loss of contact. You got to wonder if you get in there too hot and have that happen, if it really sends you for a ride.
Oh, definitely. I do know that if you bottom out the car, that spring becomes an infinite spring rate, and you definitely will spin. But let's take a quick look and see what else is happening throughout the field. It looks like Brad Cathcart. Oh, yeah, here we go. We got a freeway battle going on right now between himself, Kurt Nunez, and Adam Bradshaw. Actually, Bradshaw appears to be running the open concept Spec Racer Ford, as it seems, Randall.
I didn't know this was a modified series, but here we are. We see Adam Bradshaw has removed the front end. That was probably one of the cheers we heard in that turn 1, lap 1 incident. The Fab Shop's going to be busy for that car. Brad Cathcart is now he was battling earlier with Tom Gradwell, and then we saw Tom Gradwell was involved in an incident possibly. So, no, sorry. Brad Cathcart was involved in that incident. He's fallen way back.
Well, there is
way back now in the clutches of Kurt Nunez.
There is indeed a lot of incidents been occurring at this race. Certainly, you know, it's a mixed feeling, ladies and gentlemen. As we have a look at very quickly at Andrea Favini, it looks like he has caught up to the back of Joshua Justice. Now, Justice was having a little bit of a fight earlier, and that appears to have settled down. Yeah, because he was fighting Brad Cathcart. You're right. So now Andrea Favini is the next challenger to take on the number 99 car.
Actually, I think Joshua Justice was fighting Tom Gradwell and delivered a bit more damage to the rear end of that car. We have seen a couple more cars come into the pits. We did note that Daniel Wood came into the pit. Joshua Justice also came into the pits, so that would explain that gap. Also, Brad Cathcart, that explains that gap. I think we did see him involved in an incident as well, though on the timing screen alone, not on camera. And Edgar Sancinelli has also come into the pit lane and currently sitting in 22nd place, and a couple other drivers, Scott Russell 3 and Michelle Viglini, both have come in, but they're both got stop times under 10 seconds. So you have to wonder if that was actually scheduled service or possibly repairs. One more driver, Kurt Nunez, came in and he was only stopped for 7.5 seconds. So some of these drivers might be running really thin on fuel come the end of the race, or possibly need to stop again.
Well, it's definitely looking very interesting. So it looks like Favini is thinking about making a move here on Joshua Justice, trying to move up into 15th place. And certainly as well, it's been hard to see where the moves have been going on. We've been seeing a lot of close racing, but not yet found the corner that is of, the most reward in terms of gaining positions right now. But Favini certainly on the back of that 99 car, Joshua Justice. The mechanics doing a great job to repair that nose cone. It looks like they're going side by side. Favini is on the, I believe he's on the inside heading into this corner. Yeah, he's going to be on the inside, and it looks like he's got that move done, at least for now. But for how long? Joshua Justice is going to be keen to fight back. Can he answer back, though, as Favini moves up into 15th place?
And turn 4 is showing to be a really good passing opportunity. Get a nice big slipstream going up the hill there. Turn 8, probably another good opportunity for passing, as it's a huge braking zone coming down the hill. And you might be able to get a good run on the front straight and get a move set up for turn 1 and make the car on the outside have to lift a little bit more to make that corner. But it looks like turns 4 and turns 8 are probably your prime passing opportunities, and we just saw one done there in turn 4. Now Joshua Justice going to try to track down Favini and get that spot back from him. But Favini looks like he's got some speed and is pulling away just a little bit here.
Well, this part of the track, I feel, is very much like an autocross. You got that little bit of curb as well to unsettle the car. This right-hander here, this, the final right-hander, I do find it is a lot tighter than under first impression. So certainly a very demanding track. And I got to say, again, I'm not huge about where I'm from, but I'm feeling a lot of pride right now to be not only just be here with the Weekend Warriors, but to have my home track as part of the action.
Absolutely. You gotta love to see a spot on the service that you're intimately familiar with, and I can completely understand the nostalgia it brings up. Every time I see a track or see a race at the Indy Road Course or the Indy Oval, I'm like, I've been there so many times. I know all those spots, and that's exactly what they look like in real life.
Well,
also the Lucas Oil Oval is the same way.
Well, I got to say, I'm certainly hoping that iRacing will add my new home track, and that is the one of Atlantic Motorsport Park here in Nova Scotia, where I've been lucky enough to commentate the action there in person. Very fortunate. I got to do a grid walk for the 50th anniversary as well. But you see Antonio Reese there having a little bit of understeer, it seems, and Bobby West able to pull away and expand on that gap by about 3 or 4 tenths of a second, as I do wonder, have we got a battle going on for the lead right now as well? It looks like Maurizio Naselli is currently riding behind Marco Pinero, not yet able to make a move to get that P1 spot.
You have to wonder, Naselli's not looked very punchy here at all, not looked interested in making a move for P1, so you have to think that maybe he's doing a little bit of fuel saving and going to try to get the pass done on pit lane. We'll see if he tries to go for an undercut or not. The nature of this track might lend itself to a pretty well to an undercut strategy, but only by a couple laps. Track temperature still sitting nice and cool, 72 degrees Fahrenheit, 22 degrees Celsius. So a little bit warmer, but not really enough to have a huge effect on cars or tires like this. But Marco Pinero has led the way the entire way and is currently sitting on the fastest lap time in the race with a 1:31.232. So these guys driving very near to quality pace out here in the open air.
Well, as we have a look, it looks like Larry Miles, the newcomer this week, is having a little bit of a battle there with Tom Cadwell right ahead of him. Cadwell still rocking that very, I'd say it's slightly beaten Spec Racer Ford at this point. Larry Miles, I believe he would have came in the pits, but certainly, Randall, I know you'd be able to confirm that for me. I think he got caught up in an incident earlier. That the 003 car currently applying pressure there to the back of Tom Cadwell. And I've got to say, a little bit unfortunate there for Larry Miles. The cap to be pushed into S1 is 3,000 I rating. This gentleman, 3,052. So a little bit unlucky there for Miles, the Canadian driver.
I think he's in the right spot, though. I do not see any pit times recorded for Miles. So to be here in his maiden race in the top 10, challenging one of the faster drivers in the league, that's a pretty good showing. So I think we'll only see improvements out of Larry Miles after this, unless he happens to be the mysterious Cadwell Park specialist, considering that it's only been on the service for a few weeks. That would be impressive indeed. He's going to get a nice run up the hill here. We might see him move into turn 4 as he's going to look to the inside. Going to be pulling alongside. He's going to get the move done under braking and can be completely clear before they even turn in for the corner. An easy position there. Moves up to P8. We see another move forming here. Trenton Kramer looking to the inside, not quite getting it done in that time. So Paulo Bream going to hold on for another corner. You see more cars trickling through turn 4 there. It's a really, really interesting spot of the track. Kind of blind on entry, and you really got to be going for it. You got to be brave.
Well, it looks like Jim Brewster has got the front row seat of that battle happening right now, and we are on board with him. As you can see, ahead of him is the number 20 car. Number 20 car? Try again. The number 20 car of Trenton Kramer. He's trying to get onto the back of Paul O'Brien, and Brewster with a front row view. Now, he did get caught in a couple of incidents earlier on, but we're not going to give Brewster too hard a bash, and he is absolutely a fundamental part of the community, especially in the Formula Vs. He's very much a man with the camera when it comes to that side and makes a lot of time and effort in organizing the V, so thank you very much for that. But certainly these guys are still going hard at it ahead of him, and he has got a front row seat right now. His next nearest for position behind him is Andrew Love, who's about 7 seconds back, so not really a threat, as you just get a bit of a warning that Andrew Love has just crashed. Sorry, Andrew.
The old commentator's curse. You just mention him in passing, and that's all it takes sometimes. Andrew Love having some trouble out there. Jim Brewster doing a real good job of keeping a respectful distance. He's a lap behind the 2 drivers ahead of him, so trying to keep up with them for the pace, but keeping back far enough to not really interfere with this fight too much. We're going to see Paulo Brima coming under attack again, moving kind of defensive there and then moving back, but Trenton Kramer is going to have the inside line this time, and almost a little bit of bump and grind there, but they get through turn 4 clean. Trenton Kramer finally going to get that move done now. Let's see if he can pull away from the 555 or not. We'll see how much of a cork in the bottle Paulo was there. So far, so good. He's really opening up the gap pretty quickly.
Yeah, he's already opened up that gap to about 0.5 of a second, so it is interesting to see if indeed Paul O'Brien was currently holding him up. But it looks like Jim Brewster's now wanting to crack at Paulo, so Paulo currently under attack. Now, I do wonder if Brewster will go for it. Now, don't get me wrong, just because the car is lapped. Oh, a bit of a slide there from Kramer. I thought that was going to be all over, but at this point, just merely showboating, and that puts Paul O'Brien back under 0.5 of a second. Very briefly, he got it down to 3 tenths. Kramer able to recover very nicely. Now, this corner here, that right-hander, again, very, very easy to carry a bit too much speed, and certainly iRacing very keen with the off-tracks there. Certainly not all of that, like that grassy tarmac area is fair play within the sim.
And we saw a little bit of a rerun of a Kramer versus Kramer episode there in the chicane. We'll see if he can open that gap up once again. We're going to take a look at Phil Berry, who's carrying quite a bit of damage there on the left rear of that Spec Racer Ford. It has seen better days, but he is currently on the tail of Tom Cadwell. We know Tom Cadwell's got some damage on the rear of that car. He probably doesn't want anymore as they approach turn 4. So far, so good, but Philip Berry really applying that pressure. Spec 2 driver, currently P2 in the Spec 2 division. Tom Gradwell, P2 in the Masters division. So a really, really important battle on track here. We should see some more cars coming into the pit here pretty soon as we got one off in the grass. And I'm trying to see who that was. Was that David Tomaski, another one of the new drivers getting snake bit here at Cadwell Park.
Well, I gotta say, Philip Barry, you are rocking a paint job that I approve of. The Cookie Monster is certainly a creature that is very fond to my heart. I actually run the same paint on the Corvette GT3, but I can't drive it as well as he is driving the Spec Racer Ford right now, applying plenty of pressure. Currently 10th overall, so that's a pretty steady position to be sat at. Some nice points on the line, and currently one of the closest battles actually is the very closest battle available on the track as it stands. Now that Cookie Monster is going to certainly have to try everything it can. Certainly, you know, take a couple of bites as they go down to start finish straight. Perhaps a little bit of extra energy as they head down into turn 1.
The 888 looking like the Cookie Monster's googly eyes are right now saying, me, what 9th place? And still applying that pressure to Tom Gradwell. Tom Gradwell, the KG Master, not cracking under the pressure quite yet. We'll see if they get a good run off turn 3 and who's going to have the position come turn 4. But it looks right now that Tom Gradwell's got enough of a lead that he's going to keep this one pretty easily, not even need to defend the turn 4 entry this time by. But that Cookie Monster's got to be lurking big in the mirrors.
Well, I've got to say, Tom Gradwell, you just got extra points as I've looked at the right rear camera. The slow motion broadcasting logo right there, poised on the right rear fender. And I got to say, very much, you just gained a point in my book there, sir. And on the left rear, albeit slightly tattered.
That does explain some of the rear end damage. The slow motion broadcasting known throughout the world as being a bit of a target. So use at your own risk, but we do like seeing that. Marco Pinero, the first of the leaders to come into pit lane. We see him dive into the pits and give up the lead. So Maurizio Naselli not going to get the opportunity to undercut him and is going to lead a lap here. We'll see how many more laps Maurizio stays out there. We're at the 23.5-minute mark. You see Marco Pinero leave the pit lane, and is he going to have any traffic to contend with? No, he's going to come out onto a relatively clean piece of track. So now he's got to deal with this traffic as little as possible is what he wants. He's got a nice gap in front of him up to Joshua Wilkie, so it looks like he timed this pit stop perfectly.
Well, certainly it is something to keep in mind as we're going to put the track map up on there as these pit stops start to come into play. Philip Berry, they're still going on it, but Antonio Reese and Bobby West, these guys have been fighting for a little while. That gap, I say that gap now, it just appears to have expanded. Actually, Josh Wilkie now having a little bit of a go there at the master himself.
Josh Wilkie, we've seen him off track a few times in this race, and he's still punching P6. He is your Spec 2 leader, and you have to really wonder if he hadn't had those little incidents where he would be now. Possibly up there in front of Bobby West, maybe, or at least fighting with Bobby West. He would not be that far behind him if he was behind him. So Joshua Wilkie having a pretty good run here. Let's see if he can keep it going for another 16.5 minutes, 15.5 minutes, and bring home the Spec 2 win. He's close enough to Antonio Reese to be applying a little bit of pressure, but he's not right there on his gearbox.
Oh,
either.
Here we go.
We see Antonio Reese run wide, and now Wilkie's going to have the inside run. He thinks better of it, tucks in the line behind Reese, and now is going to have a big slipstream, but it looks like Reese is going to dive into the pit lane.
No, he's bailed. I thought he was going to go as well. I was thinking exactly the same. And it looks like Reese may have backed off on that. He realized that Wilkie was indeed carrying a little bit more speed. Perhaps Reese caught a slowdown in that last corner, but very good news for Wilkie there, because remember, ladies and gentlemen, these guys are scored points on overall position, so this is very good news for Wilkie, the SMB producer, and recently started as a commentator as well. Very proud to have him on board, and currently doing us very proud as a driver, rocking it in 5th place. I gotta say, Randall, how did we get so lucky? We have Adam Thompson, who does generally very well when he puts enough fuel in the car. He does well for SMB. Wilkie's already fresh off a Formula 1600 S2 win. Can he repeat that success in the SRF?
Well, he has not put an SMB logo on the car, so I'm going to say that he probably has a pretty fair shot at it. The car is still looking pretty clean. We'll see if we can get him to carry the livery in the future, though. After watching this race, that might be a dodgy prospect. We see the Cookie Monster still chasing Tom Gradwell here for P9. Not able to close up quite yet, so maybe he's just trying to lurk a little bit here let the googly eyes do their intimidation, maybe save some fuel and try to get him in the pit stop.
Well, certainly it is one of my favorite paint jobs I've seen here in the SRFs. Jörg Manny, you've definitely got one close to my heart. Certainly in the F1600s, I can't keep a straight face every time I see it on screen. So there you go, a new challenge for you, ladies and gentlemen, making paint jobs that make me start laughing on stream. Have fun with that. Don't get me wrong, while I would appreciate some of the more raunchy, humid ones, we are broadcasting, so just keep that in mind if you're going to go for it.
Yeah, if you're going to be raunchy, be subtle. You got to be subtle.
Innuendos.
If we're
Well,
Tom
here we go.
Cadwell and Bill Berry both dive into the pit lane. An interesting strategy there.
Oh!
With some contact. Cookie Monster not happy with Tom Gradwell. Spins him around. More damage to the rear of Tom Gradwell's car. He's going to have to get it pointed in the right direction. This is going to cost him heaps of time. The stewards are not going to be happy with that.
Well, we're going to have a quick look at that replay. I want to see exactly what happened there. I see if I can get a little bit of a better view. There's only so much I can get with the cameras. Let's see what we got here, ladies and gentlemen. And, okay, you can just see in the background. And I do. Yeah, it looks like he just got a little bit of a shot in there. That's awkward.
The pit lane speed limit here is only 31 miles an hour. Very, very slow. So I suspect that Philip just got to the brakes just a little bit too late. That's the problem with coming in behind somebody when you're tracking so close behind them, is that if you get it a little bit wrong, you're going to be into the rear of that car ahead. Tom Gradwell now out of the pits. But, yeah, I don't think the stewards are going to be very happy with the Cookie Monster there. He ended up being stopped for 12 and a half seconds. Tom Gradwell's pit lane time, 34.8 seconds. So that cost him a huge amount of spots on track.
Well, definitely one that was keeping him in mind, as it looks like Marco Panera, that was your race leader earlier. He's certainly trying to make his way through the field. Antonio Reese pretty much gives him that position, but I don't know if Wilkie will do the same. Antonio Reese seems to be, I think he's playing a little bit of the fuel game right now. He's not really fighting for outright position. I think he's got some other tactic in play, whereas Wilkie, the SMB superstar, let's maybe not tell him I said that. He can find out if he watches it, ladies and gentlemen. The SMB superstar is currently doing very well, up in 4th place overall, but has yet to make a pit stop.
Maurizio Naselli is ahead of Wilkie in 3rd place. He has stopped. His pit lane stop time was 9/100ths quicker than Marco Pinero, but his pit lane time 3 seconds quicker than Pinero. So he was able to really attack that at pit entry much better than Pinero was, and you can see the results. He's ahead. He's got that gap. That's a 2-second gap ahead of Pinero, and Pinero's got a car to deal with in the form of Joshua Wilkie.
Well, certainly, if you are Maurizio Naselli, you're going to be hoping that Wilkie fights as hard as he can against the number 16 car of Marco Pinero. Now, we've seen here, he's not going to go for it. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, he did. He went for it right there. I can't believe it. And he managed to make that move stick. An incredible pass there by Marco Pinero. I'm not sure Wilkie chose to fight that as hard as he possibly could, but Antonio Reese is now right behind him, applying the pressure.
Yeah, it looks like Marco Pinero had some measured aggression there and knew that Wilkie was not only in Spec 2, but was leading that division and having a monumental race. Knew that if he was aggressive, Wilkie was probably going to be pretty passive, and it worked out for him. So Marco Pinero able to get around in a very tough section of track, and now trying to track down your effective race leader in Maurizio Naselli. We still see Jason Green and stream broadcast sponsor Bobby West and P2 ahead of them. Both still need to come into the pits, but your effective leader right now sitting in P3 and starting to feel the pressure already from Marco Pinero.
Yeah, Marco Pinero is currently about 2 seconds back. Now, we'll have to see how that goes. Certainly for best lap time, these guys are... There's not really a lot in it. Maybe a 1/10 of a second, 2 tenths at a push. So very, very closely matched indeed. But I'm going to be interested to see when Wilkie pits, because currently he's got the S2 win pretty much in the bag. Philip Berry would be his next closest competition, and he's all the way back there in 14th. Actually having a little bit of a battle there.
Now
with,
you've done it.
Andrea Favini right now, by the look of that.
And now you've done it.
Here we go.
That's how you invoke the commentator's curse, if I've ever heard it. I've seen the Cookie Monster behind Brad Cathcart and Kurt Nunez trying to get some spots back after that pit stop. Everybody in front of him is pit so far. We need to keep an eye on Kurt Nunez, as he was only stopped for 7.5 seconds, and everybody else is sitting to the 10 to 12 second range for fuel. So Kurt Nunez might be hurting at the end of this race. The Cookie Monster lurking once again. They're coming through turn 8. Brad Cathcart leading the way. We've seen the two drivers in Cathcart and Nunez together for a while now. Not much movement between them. So they seem to be pretty content to run together for the moment. Under 10 minutes to go, you have to wonder when does that aggression come in? When are they going to start dialing this up, you think, Zippy?
Well, again, it is risk versus reward, as Philip Berry is certainly starting to apply a little bit of pressure there to the back of Kurt Nunez. But again, this the second to last corner, very much one which will penalize you. A little bit of a slide there from both of these guys, but if Nunez can stay on the back of Cathcart, it may be able to keep him ahead of Philip Berry. It looks like all of these guys have pit. Actually, as I look through the order, I don't see anybody who is yet to make a pit stop. Oh, actually, except Wilkie. Wilkie's still not yet been in the pits.
The last of the late pitters, Joshua Wilkie, sitting in P3 overall. You have to wonder where he's going to shake out after he makes his stop. Maurizio Naselli and Marco Pinero still leading the way. Bobby West had the quickest pit stop time out of the leaders with a 9.3 second stop, but still a 20-second pit lane time, the same as Jason Green, so not able to attack the entry nearly as much as Jason Green. So we're going to start seeing some shakeups here in the top 5. Bobby West sitting 6th, but probably going to inherit 5th once Joshua Wilkie pits. Brad Cathcart still leading the way in this trio. Not a lot of movement between these three. They come down the hill, approach turn 8. We see somebody diving into pit lane. That's got to be Josh Wilkie.
Yeah, Wilkie has made it into the pits. It's good to see him in here, but where will he re-emerge? Certainly for outright position, Jason Green, he's just snuck past. There comes Bobby West going on your right-hand side of the screen. I got to say, I'm absolutely loving this pit lane camp. As you see there, Wilkie is on the way out. Now, who is he going to emerge behind? I think he's going to be in clean air. Yeah, look at that. That looks like Antonio Reese behind him.
Reese. We did see Trenton Kramer come into the pit lane, so I think Trenton Kramer involved possibly in that lap 1 scrum. Now leaving the pit lane, going to be rejoining in 12th overall, so that's going to give Antonio Reese the Masters Division lead in P7. Brad Cathcart, his next competition in P12.
Well, it looks like the leaders.
Yeah,
these guys are back together now. Here we go. Marco Pinero has been able to close. Sorry, I'm so sorry, Randall. I'll tell you what.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, sir. It looks like Marco Pinero has been able to re-catch up to Maurizio Naselli, and these guys are now going to start getting spicy for about the last little bit of zippy math. 6 minutes left to go. Marco Pinero certainly applying a lot of pressure. Looks like Maurizio was able to leapfrog him just slightly at the start. These guys just one position swap between them, and that's it, ladies and gentlemen. As you see there, Marco is going to have an absolutely fantastic slipstream. He's currently 0.3 of a second back, and that slipstream getting closer and closer still. You can see that number 16 car gradually reeling him in. He's not going to be able to make the move just yet, but he is going to carry a lot of momentum. Is he going to be able to make that pass going into turn 4?
Well, like one of your famous countrymen like to say, it's one thing to catch a car, it's another thing to pass it. So Marco Pinero has caught Naselli. Now, can he get around? That's going to be the challenge. I do want to point out that we've seen David Tomaszewski come into the pits again. He was involved in an incident. He had to come in for a splash and go, just stop for a very short time, and now we see him in pit lane again. So definitely some issues with his maiden run. We also saw Scott Russell take a tow. So Scott Russell involved in an incident somewhere on track that has caused him to probably retire the car at this stage of the race. Now, back to Marco Pinero, chasing down Maurizio Naselli. Does he have anything for him, and where? Where is the move going to happen? They still have a bit of time left. They're going to have another just shy of 5 minutes to get this race done. So 3-4 laps, where is he going to make the move?
Well, we was close enough there that we literally saw the rear axle, that Spec Racer 4 taking flight, ladies and gentlemen, and heard a little bit of wheel spin as the rubber recontacted the tarmac. And I think this is going to be what's going to catch these guys out. They've got to remember not to overdrive the car through that rhythm section, as you affectionately called it. As ironically, we see on the back of Naselli's car, please keep distance. Well, Marco Pinero is certainly not going to be doing that as he's trying to make a move there. He's going to be on the outside for turn 1. Can he get it done? It looks like he's managed to creep ahead by just a nose. And yes, he's done it. He's got the lead away from Maurizio Naselli and regains the number 1 spot.
But don't look now. Look what's ahead of Marco Pinero. Lap traffic. Here it comes.
Gary
They're
Robolt.
coming up on Gary Robolt very quickly, only 2 seconds ahead. My prediction, I'm rubbing my hands together. This could be it right here.
Well, you said about the commentator's curse, it is nothing compared to the Stevie Ray shotgun, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not seeing Stevie in the race right now, but if he's watching, certainly start aiming. It looks like Robot was very quick to get out the way there. I'm not sure if it was intentional, but it certainly appears to be because I do not see any warnings. But it does look like that opened up the gap a little bit for Maurizio. He's now he's now behind Marco Pinero by about 5 tenths of a second, but can he regain? If he loses that drop, he will indeed have a great challenge, as both of these cars actually have the stickers on the back saying, please keep the distance.
Yeah, both these drivers not very fond of having rear end damages. What a bunch of air there. A good 6 to 8 inches off of the ground for Marco Pinero as he's doing a bit of gymkhana here in the Spec Racer 4. There's a couple spots where they look like they might be getting some air. They're closing the gap. The gap right now ahead of them to the next driver that will receive the blue flag in the form of Edgar Santinelli is just under 4 seconds, and they're gaining about a tenth a corner. So they might or might not catch. Edgar is a pretty smart guy. He's not going to interfere with the lead if I know him at all. So my prediction might be wrong now that they're most likely to encounter Edgar Santinelli. Joshua Justice here chasing down Larry Miles. Larry Miles, his first race as well, having a really good one, up 1 spot from where he started. Joshua Justice down 1 spot from where he started. So these two have been together pretty much all race then.
Yeah, certainly Larry Miles, I do believe, got caught in an incident earlier, as did Joshua Justice. He did take a fast repair in the pits a little bit early on. As you see, Michelle Lynn saying Marco is so fast here. I gotta be honest, a lot of these drives are really fast here, and I'll be honest in saying that I'm not one of them. As you see the fog moving through this absolutely wonderful track. It's a mixed feelings track, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get me wrong, would I want to run something like a GT3 or an LMP round here? Absolutely not. I would definitely not want to be the pilot in one of these cars, but it's certainly with a little bit of airtime we're seeing from some of these cars as well, it really does add a different dynamic. You know, it's certainly not often that we see these race cars taking flight in parts of the track.
Yeah, they're absolutely sending it in some of those sections, and I admit it. This track was a lot like Bathurst. For the first time I watched an onboard lap, I was like, "Oh, that's spooky. I don't know if I could do that." Particularly Maurizio Naselli, I was watching him a lot in practice. We see Jeff Jacobson closing in on the 555. The 555, they're going defensive. I'm just going to say, making that Spec Racer Ford extra wide. Say, I want to take my half right out of the middle. You're not going to have anywhere to go. Completely legal, if a little infuriating for the number 40 car, as he's on a bit of a recovery run involved in an early incident, now trying to make his way around Paulo Bream. And we've seen that Paulo Bream is exceptionally hard to pass. He does know how to defend. He knows how to put that car in just the right position to be absolutely the most annoying thing that you have to deal with and will hold you up and cost you time. And eventually, if you get around, you might be able to gap him. But like I said earlier, it's one thing to catch somebody, it's another thing to pass them.
Well, certainly Paulo appears to have the same kind of talents as I have. It looks like that car has just pulled over and let them go, understandably so. And I will say as well, Paulo is doing an absolutely fantastic job defending. You see there, Jeff looks like he went a little bit of an overshot, but able to keep the car on track. And I do believe Jeff Jacobson will be streaming as well. I think I've tuned into a couple of his streams before. A guy who uses VR as well, so definitely a different way of enjoying the sim, but certainly applying the pressure. Paulo Bream making that Spec Racer Ford as wide as the back end of Beyonce at this point, and certainly able to hold on to that 15th spot.
We see the white flag in the air in Barney's hands, so that means the leaders are on the final lap. And we see Marco Pinero coming through the final corner. Right now, he's got a comfortable lead, so he's going to take the checkered flag. Marco Pinero going to win here at round 2 with Maurizio Naselli at close second place. Hayden Bramley going to bring it home in third place as long as he can make it around this last corner. There you go. Hayden Bramley coming down the hill, faking the entry to pit lane, weaving across, celebrating a podium. Jason Green there in the background, also weaving around, gonna come home 4th. Bobby West gonna bring it home in 5th place. Joshua Wilkie comes around the last corner in 6th place, but he's gonna bring home the Spec 2 win despite all the things that we've said about him to try to get him to crash. Behind him in 7th place, Antonio Reese, your Masters Division winner. Daniel Wood going to come home in 8th place. Larry Miles in his maiden voyage in the Spec Racer Force for the Weekend Warriors comes home 9th. Joshua Justice brings it home 10th. Trenton Kramer, we saw him fighting with Paulo Bream, comes home in P11. Brad Cathcart comes down the hill, gonna finish 12th. Behind him is gonna be Phil Berry in the Cookie Monster. The stewards are waiting for him in his pit stall.
Well, here you go. Here's the battle still going on.
Battle still happening. Paulo Bream manages to hold off Jacobson, comes home 15th. That puts Jacobson 16th. Kurt Nunez actually managed to make it. No, he did not. He did have to come in for another fuel stop, and comes home in 17th place. Tom Gradwell, beaten, battered, bruised, and contused, comes home in 18th place. And we're going to see a few more drivers making their way around. We see one stricken driver. I think he's already finished and managed to hop the barrier. We see Edgar Sancinelli lapping it, coming home. Not the most rapid, maybe having some fuel issues in that car. Going to come home 19th. He's been out of this league for a few seasons, so good to see him back in a Spec Racer Ford and back on track, even if he does have to bring it home on the clutch to get it down the hill.
Well, this is Hayden Bramley. I believe he is the 00 car, and I got a feeling he absolutely launched it for giggles. We're going to find out in just a second. Oh, yeah.
And another cheer comes up from the fab shop.
Yeah.
It's more body parts. They're going to have to be mended for these cars after that turn one.
We're going to see.
What can we call it? A scrum?
Looks like Bobby
West is going to make his way.
Here we go. Come on, Bobby.
It's a good run cutting across the grass.
Where's Wilkie going?
The car's going to everybody, every which direction.
Oh!
What a leap. An absolute leap. Going for distance in hang time. Bobby West. Thank you once again, Bobby West, for sponsoring this race.
Well, I got to say, what a fun ending. I do hope that nobody... Oh! I don't know. Did you see that? Look at that!
They're piling in now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have opened a bowling green here with the Spec Racer Fords. Oh, there goes Wilkie. Oh, that looks like that's Nunez. We got a new sport.
We used to see this a lot at the end of Bathurst races, but ever since they fixed the gravel in iRacing, you can't really do that jump. So everybody's been looking for the new spot to jump, and it looks like they found one here on the newest track in the service. Cadwell Park has one. As you come down, just drive straight through turn 8. You'll find a bump.
Well, I am just checking the chat very quickly, and it does say we have got a message here from Ricardo Coleman. Hi all, I'm a colleague of Marco. He told me that he felt so good on this track during practice laps. Yeah, that's fair to say. And Jörg Manny says hello to Marco as well. So Marco, thank you very much for bringing us some extra guests here in the broadcast channel. But let's have a quick look. Look at that. We've got already a queue of people here waiting for interviews. But let's go over the results very quickly here. Randall? I couldn't make up my mind. Randall, would you like to do the honors?
That's my name, yes. I will. Marco Pinero comes home. He was your pole position winner. He's your overall winner. We saw him involved in quite the battle with Maurizio Naselli, who comes home in second place, just 6.5 tenths behind. Hayden Bramley, who got shoved wide on the first lap in turn 2, manages to come home on the third step of the podium. Jason Green comes home fourth. Jason had a pretty quiet race, but a very solid finish. Bobby West comes home in 5th place. Joshua Wilkie is going to win the Spec 2 division, coming home in 6th place. Antonio Reese winning the Masters division, coming home in 7th place. Daniel Wood comes home 8th. Larry Miles finishing in 9th. Joshua Justice rounds out your top 10.
As we have a look at 11th, we've got Trenton Kramer there. He definitely had a few little mishaps today with Brad Cathcart in 12th. Philip Berry having a good fight with him earlier as well. He's there in 13th with Andrea Favini, the Swedish driver, making his way. Actually, he might have been the hard charger, but don't quote me on that. He's there in 14th with Paulo Bream in 15th. Jeff Jacobson takes 16th with Kurt Nunez in 17th and Tom Gradwell in 18th. As we have a look very quickly as well, 19th we had Edgar Sancinelli, and Jim Brewster takes 20th.
21st is going to see the likes of Michelle Viglini. Gary Wobolt comes home in 22nd. 23rd, Andrew Love with Joseph Tarantino in 24th. Jason Greider, 25th. David Tomaski in his first run comes home with 26th. Scott Russell, we saw him with some issues there towards the end of the race. brings it home 27th. Adam Bradshaw coming home in 28th. Steve Healy finishing 29th, rounding out your field 30th. Russell Telker, and then Aiden Campbell technically finishes 31st, never took to the grid, never set a lap. So we will not see Aiden officially classified.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what an absolutely fantastic race. But I do understand that we have been able to catch up with Antonio Reese. Actually, Randall, if you'd like to do the honors, because I got a feeling I'm going to drag myself out of the chat, albeit unintentionally. Let's have a little bit of a catch-up here with our Masters winner, Antonio Reese. It's great to see you here in the broadcast booth. Masters win here at Cadwell Park.
Hey, good night, guys. Thanks for having me.
Happy to have you, Antonio. We did miss you here over in the Formula 1600s. And tell us a little bit about how you found Cadwell Park as a track. It looks like you was having a good bit of fun there with Joshua Wilkie.
Yeah, me and Joshua, we was having some kind of a close race, and I couldn't hold him back, so I just was not enough pace to hold him back. So he was catching me, so I was not able to hold him back with me. So sorry, I'm a little tired. I just go upstairs and 2 floors, no elevator, then I'm a little bit tired. Yeah. Well, it was a good race. I really enjoy it, and I'm waiting for the next.
Well, definitely a very good race for you there. And Jörg Manny, I didn't see you here in this one. I don't think he was able to do it, but he did say, congratulations to Antonio for the Old Farts win. So
thank you for money.
Definitely a good thing. But Antonio, it's been an absolute pleasure having you. Is there anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, thank you guys for the broadcasting. You have very nice guys, and for Steve Ray, the Steve Ray is the father of the series, and for the sponsors and for the, for the drivers, for everyone. Thank you. See you next time. Take care.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Antonio Reese, and thank you very much indeed. Randall, who have you been able to catch up with?
I have found our Spec 2 winner, Joshua Wilkie. Josh, you're on the SMB payroll now, and you're racing good. What gives?
Yeah, it feels good. It feels great, man. Things are going very good for me right now. Yeah, it feels great. Obviously, being on the payroll with SMB and taking the S2 win here as well. So pretty cool. I had a great little battle with Antonio there. I thought for sure he had the pace on me. And then I'm not sure just mid-race if he just fatigued out or just, I think he actually let me by. I don't think I made a clean pass on him there. He actually just let me by. So, yeah, I was just trying to basically pace off him. I really wanted 5th place today, but I believe it was Bobby West there just had all the pace on me, so couldn't catch him. Fun race, so wow, what a track.
We saw you mowing the rhubarb there a couple times. How did you find the opening laps out here with all the traffic and a very tight track?
Yeah, I had a choice there on the opening lap. I believe it was Scott Russell and somebody else, Dan. I think Dan Wood had a little accident in front of me, and I saw somebody sideways on the track, and I'm like, left, right, right. And if I would have went left, I would have died. I went right, and it just happened to work out for me. And I think some other people got caught up in it too. So I had my little Days of Thunder moment there, and it worked out. So yeah, kind of luck in that sense. But after that, I just kind of fell into a rhythm. I really like this track. Actually, it's super fun to drive. It's not really as hard as it seems once you get the hang of it. And yeah, it's basically just like time attacking every lap. It's pretty fun.
So finishing 6th place overall, your next Spec 2 challenger all the way back in 13th, a big haul of points. Pretty good day, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking for the Spec 2 win this year in both classes, in FF and in SRF. So yeah, that's it's starting out the season pretty good here with a win or two. I ran out of gas last weekend, or I would have got a first too. So yeah, things are looking good, man. Thank you.
Awesome. Anybody you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go celebrate your double win today?
Yeah, huge thanks to my girl, my wife, Chloe, for supporting me all the time with this stuff. She's watching in the living room right now, and she gets all excited when I win and everything. So that's huge. It means a lot when you have somebody supporting you like that. My parents, if they're out there listening, and obviously you guys in the booth doing an amazing job as usual. Yeah, thanks so much. And Stevie for putting it all on, and all the drivers out there too. Great race. Everybody had a good race today. Awesome.
Well, congratulations on the win. Congratulations on both wins, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again next week.
Sounds good, guys. Take care. Have a good one.
Well,
that was your
sorry.
Spec 2 winner. Joshua Wilkie and Zippy, I think you found third place finisher Hayden Bramley.
Hello.
Hello, Hayden. Now, doing it right for Asta. Tell us a little bit about what you thought of Cadwell Park. Obviously, being a fellow Brit, I'm expecting a very positive review. Sandbagging slightly here.
I'm not hyped up. I might be able to give you a proper interview now. It was a great race. The track is fantastic. I really do like it. I only bought it at the start of this week and had to learn it, but the flow of it's great, especially in a car like this, like really low powered, and it still keeps some sort of speed up in high speed. Like it's a really good combination.
Well, definitely, it looked like a lot of fun. Now, Hayden, your race was pretty much pretty uneventful in some ways. So I'm going to ask you a little bit about near the later sections of the track. We saw not just the front axle, but both axles at time taking flight simultaneously. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I thought it was fastest, and it's a bit fun as well. But yeah, I mean, different nights. I did watch Pinero. I've forgotten his name.
Pinero, yep, race leader, Marco Pinero.
Yeah, I watched his pole. That was mental. Like, I thought I would have had pace somewhere around pole, because I set a lap like 4/10 faster than what I did in quality, like 20 minutes before quality happened. So I thought I might be in there, but my optimal was 2/10 off what he set, and it's just insane what he was doing. But I checked what he was doing today. He was missing the sausage, and I was taking all of it. So I might be doing something wrong there, but. And that was it's an odd corner to get right, especially since if you do take a lot of speed through it, and even if you're like slightly sliding, as soon as you land, because the front lands first, it just drags the entire rear around. It's like so hard to save, so it was really risky landing. I almost binned it a few times, but yeah, that's what I decided on doing.
Well, I gotta admit, I can't fault you for going for the less dangerous scenario, and certainly a third place in the S1s and overall is certainly not a result to shake a stick at. But Hayden, before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
There's a man named Brian Lockwood. If you want coaching, go to him. He's a fantastic coach. He's been helping me a lot with an event I've got coming up. He's a fantastic coach. If you want coaching, do get it. It's on the Swelio Almeida website.
Yeah. I know Swelio.
Honestly, yeah, he's a fantastic coach. Endorsed by Swelio as well. Brilliant. Go to him. And also probably my parents as well, because yeah, I should.
Well, that was Hayden Bramley, ladies and gentlemen. That is your S1 third place finisher today. But I do understand we have been able to catch up with Bobby West as well. Bobby, you managed to get fifth place, but we've got you in the booth for a couple of different reasons. Randall, take it away, sir.
So, Bobby, you sponsor today's broadcast, for this race, and you have an incredibly good finish. Can we maybe pitch this to you as a winning strategy? You keep sponsoring races, maybe you'll have really good ones.
Yeah, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I should keep doing that. Yeah, no, today's race was fun. It's a really fun track to drive around, but it is tough, very tough. So yeah, I just sponsor this one. Happy to support the league. They've been racing with them for a number of years now. Such a great group of people. Stevie does an amazing job of organising it all. Really appreciative of yourselves broadcasting it as well. But I also want to sponsor this one just because this is probably going to be one of my last seasons in the league. As much like your colleague Adam, I'm expecting my first child at the end of the season. So I have no idea how much time I'm ever going to get on this for the next period of time after that, in the new year. So yeah, just my last gesture for the league, really.
Completely understandable. Congratulations on the coming child, and maybe we can eke some more dollars out of you. It looks like the sponsor race. Have a good finish, man. Maybe you need to show a little bit more appreciation, Bobby.
Yeah, there you go. We'll see how it goes.
Since you did sponsor, do you have any website or anything you'd like to plug? I see that you race for West Tech Esports Racing. Is there anything you'd like to plug while you're here?
I mean, it's literally just an Instagram page. Feel free to give it a follow. It's just I post like a diary of my sim racing exploits over the years. Just because, every now and then you get one race that's quite memorable. So I always think, take some pictures and stuff. But just say hi to my girlfriend, of course, and hi to my mum and dad who watch us every week as well. So, and thanks to yourselves and Stevie and all the group and racing each week. It's been a big part of my life over the last few years. So we'll see how it goes in the years to come.
Well, great race, Bobby, and congratulations again. Hopefully, we'll be talking to you in the booth again. This time, maybe you'll be leading the way.
We can hope. I need a few people to take an off week, I think, maybe, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, congrats, Bobby, and good luck. That was this week's sponsor, P5 finisher, and expecting father, Bobby West. And on that bombshell.
Ooh, hold on.
Oh, we do have some upcoming broadcasts.
There you go.
Do we have XSLR tonight? We're doing a bit of editing on air. So we do have XSLR tonight at 8:10 p.m. Eastern. And I'm going to guess the Legends 34 Coupe, and I'm not exactly sure where.
Close. I can tell you, I made a slight hash of the upcoming broadcast, and I was just going to smooth it over, but thank you, Randall. It's okay. We do have XSLR tonight. That's going to be the next show. It will be at 8:10 Eastern, and it is the VW Beetle Light, and that is at Indianapolis Rallycross circuit. So you'll get to see the joys of the 244 car, Adam Thompson, and the rest of the XSLR crew. They're having some fun going slideways, and I'm not going to be racing that one. I may have taken out the SMB former owner not once but twice at the last race, so I'm going to refrain from that one. But yeah, that's going to be at 8:10 tonight, and Randall, by all means, please carry on with the schedule.
And then next Saturday, the Formula V's, the Weekend Warrior Formula V is going to take to the track Navarra on October 5th at 3:20 p.m. Eastern, and then next Sunday you will see the Weekend Warriors Formula Ford at this very Cadwell Park at 1:45 p.m. Eastern, and then right after them at this time, going to see the Spec Racer Fords attack Circuit Zolder at 3:45 p.m. Eastern. That evening will be 8:10 p.m. We will see the Legend 34 Coupes at Knoxville, and then on October 12th, the Formula V's are going to go to Oschersleben at 3:20 p.m.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, damn it. Go on, Randall.
And on that bombshell, thank you for joining us here at Cadwell Park with the Weekend Warriors Formula Ford, not the Formula Ford, the Spec Racer Fords for Round 2, 2024, Season 4. I have been joined by Daniel Zippy Salmon. My name is Randall McGrew. Thank you all for joining, and we'll see you again this evening.
I see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes.
That was the biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. Like, hey, life sucks sometimes, and you need the boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff the new cars just a little bit. I'm not going to go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new content.
Confirmed.
But
the field in Castro's hands, and he's going immediately. Gets a good jump there over green, and is pulling away. He is gapping early, even moving over to try to break up any sort of slipstream or help that inside line, making sure Green has his hands full coming into T1.
George Chance, did Jason give Antonio just a little bit of a slow up? It doesn't look like it. Antonio down to the inside. Hopefully going to be able to make this move. Oh, that was close.
Soto both coming very hot with a head of steam. Plava going up to try to move out of the way and give up the slipstream.
Here comes Gilliland.
Slow down. Gilliland coming in, going to try to challenge for this podium. They're going to go too wide.
Oh, no!
Oh, no! Gilliland and Pleva come together. Gilliland's going to come back across the line in 4th place.
Quite going to get there. There's a little bit of a lock up there from the 46 car. He's gone deep.
Whoa. I don't know how everybody was able to get through that. That could have been absolute tears for that front runner.